Today I will be covering some user management and file sharing with the Windows 2022 server. I'll be using virtual machines from Hyper-V, starting where I left off on my how to create virtual machines in Hyper-V video. First off, we'll need to create a switch connecting the different machines. To do this, click the virtual switch manager action, make the switch private, and afterwards we can name it and add a description if you like. Now that we have the switch ready, right click on your machines to enter settings, then network adapter, and assign your new switch. Do this on all the machines working in the upcoming domain. When you're ready, start your server. The first step on the server is to get a server IP address. To do this, search Network Connections, right click on Ethernet, go to Properties, highlight IPv4, then Properties, select Use the following IP address, and type in your IP. Since this is an offline demonstration, I'll just use a made-up IP. The subnet should automatically appear, and also type in the same IP for your DNS. From the Server Manager, click on Manage. Open Add Roles and Features. Next, select Role-Based or Feature-Based Installation. Select the server from the server pool. In Server Roles, make sure to check ActiveDirectory Domain Services, DNS Server, and Print and Document Services. No need to change anything else. Just hit Next till you reach the Confirmation tab and click Install. When you are back on the Server Manager page, click on the flag icon and promote this server to a domain controller. Select Add a new forest, write your root domain name, and make sure it ends on .local. On the Domain Controller Options page, select the youngest server possible for both forest and domain. Check DNS and GC, and write your DSRN password, which has to be a strong password containing both lowercase and uppercase letters, as well as numbers or symbols. Leave the DNS delegation unchecked. You will automatically get a NetBIOS domain name based on the root domain name. But if you want, feel free to change it. Here we can check if the settings are as they should be. Finally hit Install and the server will restart when it's done. Next up, we're going to add some folders or organizational unit, referred to as OU, where we can store some group policies. From Server Manager, open Tools, look for Active Directory Users and Computers, select your root domain, create a new OU. You can name this whatever you want. This is just an example of how a company might structure it. I called mine Company and added a subfolder called Users with two subfolders, Admin and Restricted. I made another subfolder under Company called Machines, where I included computers and printers. During this video, we will be using all of these except the one called Computers. Now right click on the restricted OU and choose New. Then Group, and pick a name. I'll call this Standard Users, as this will be applied to most users. Leave the group scope on Global and group type on Security. Back to Server Manager. Open Tools and look for Group Policy Management. Find the restricted OU. Right click and choose Create GPO in this domain and link it here. Name the GPO whatever you want to. Right click on the new GPO and pick Edit. Now we're going to change some policies for a specific user or user group. This will be some restrictions for the average domain user, as only one administrator is to be able to access all features. First, I will prohibit the users from installing programs. To do so, navigate through Computer Configuration, Policies, Administrative Templates, Windows Components, Windows Installer, and select Prohibit User Install. Right-click, Edit, pick Enabled, Apply, and OK. Next we are going to prevent the user from changing the pause screen. Go back to the beginning and pick User Configuration, Policies, Administrative Templates, Control Panel, Personalization, and select Prevent Changing Screensaver. Enable this and go back to Control Panel. Now I would like to prevent the user from accessing the Control Panel. However, as they need to access a printer later on, then instead of enabling prohibit access to Control Panel and PC settings, we will use the show only specified control panel items, which will prevent the user from using anything else than what is listed. To do so, click on show and then type Microsoft.device and printers. Now the user can go to printers and scanners, but none of the other features in the control panel. Now I want to prevent the user from changing the network connection, like IP and DNS configuration. So we are going to backtrack to administrative templates, then network connections, and enable prohibit access to properties of LAN connection. Finally, I need to make sure the users can't change anything in the registry. So back to the administrative templates, then use system and enable prevent access to registry editing tools. Now that we have a group policy for regular users, it's time to add some. Let's start with the administrator. Navigate to the admin OU in ActiveDirectory users and computers. Right click on admin, new, user. Fill out the profile and if you want, set the password to never expire. When the profile is ready, right click on the new user and add to group. Open locations and through the root domain navigate to users and click on OK. In the enter object name to select, search for domain admins. Check names and hit OK. Now this user has admin rights. Let's say you want to add many users, then instead of doing it manually like I did with the admin, then you can use a script to read a CSV file containing all the user information. Since this is a virtual computer without internet access, we will need to find another way to transfer a CSV file to the server. Create a folder which will be the destination for your CSV file. Go to your Hyper-V manager and right click on your server. Open settings and find integration services. And make sure that every box has been checked, as you are most likely missing out on guest services, which will allow your computer to communicate with the server. Here's an example of what the CSV file could look like. Open your PowerShell, make sure to run it as an administrator. I already have a script for transferring the CSV file. Feel free to copy it for your own PowerShell. Simply run the script and it should appear in your new folder on the virtual server. Open PowerShell on the server and like before, make sure to run it as an administrator. If I'm allowed to have such long descriptions on YouTube, I'll leave the script there. Otherwise, try and recreate it yourself. This script will add users from the CSV file to the domain and grant them the standard users group role, giving them the restricted policy. Next, we'll change the server's name. From the server manager, go to DNS and right click on your server to open DNS Manager. Expand the server, double click on forward lookup zones and the root domain folder. When it appears on the left, right click on it and pick new alias, CNAME. Then change the alias to your domain name and in the fully qualified domain name section, click browse. Navigate through the server icon, forward lookup zones, domain name.local and pick the one with your server's name, type host A. Click OK and the essential name has been changed. You can also change the host A type server name, but as it isn't important for this task, I'll leave it be. Now to the file sharing. Create a folder which will be shared with all domain users. Since this is just an example, I'll place mine on the desktop, but I wouldn't recommend it, as this file is most likely to end up taking a lot of space in a real work environment. Right click on the folder and go to Properties. Then Sharing and click on Advanced Sharing. Check the Share This Folder box and go to Permissions. Make it so that everyone can change and read, then hit Apply and OK. Go to Security, click on Advanced, then Add and select a principal. And type in Domain Users. Check the names and hit OK. Make sure the type is set to Allow, applies to this folder only, click on Show Advanced Permissions, and check Traverse Folder / Execute File, List Folder / Read Data, Read Attributes, and Create Folders / Append Data. Leave everything else unchecked and hit OK. Apply settings and OK. While you're still in security, click on Edit, then Add, type in Domain Admins and give them full control. Now you need to go to Group Policy Management, right click on Restricted User Policy, Edit, User Configuration, Preferences, Windows Settings and Drive Maps. Right click on the drive maps and make a new map drive. Make sure the action is set to create in the location field. Do 2 backslashes followed by your domain name, then backslash and the shared folder name. Check the reconnect box and give it a label name. Make sure to give it a drive letter. I picked S for sharing. Leave the bottom check boxes on no change. With this you should have a shared folder. Before running the next script, we need to make a change on the firewall. Open up Windows Defender Firewall and click on Allow an app or a feature through Windows Defender Firewall. Look for the file and printer sharing over SMB Direct and click the 3 checkboxes next to it. Now that is done, open up your PowerShell and as always, run it as administrator. This script is designed to create a private folder in the shared folder for every user on the domain, only allowing those with administrator rights to open all folders. The last addition to the domain server will be a printer. From the server manager, under Tools, look for Print Management, expand Print Servers, then Local Server and go to Drivers. If you had a real printer, this is where you would place the downloaded driver. Right click inside, Add Driver, Next, 64, and since this is just a virtual printer, generic/text only will do. Then Finish and we have a new driver. Next, go to Ports, right click, Add Port, pick standard TCP/IP port and click on New Port. Next, write the IP address, make sure the last number is different from the server and wait for the detecting progress to fail. Once it's done, leave the device type on generic network card, hit Next, Finish and Close. Now we have a port to work with. Finally, go to Printers, right click and Add Printer. Select Add a new printer using an existing port and look for the newly created port. Use an existing printer driver on the computer and pick the driver we just made. Name the printer, add all the details you want. Just make sure to keep the Share this printer option checked. Just hit Next and Finish. Right click on your new printer, go to Sharing and check the list in the directory box. Now open ActiveDirectory Users and Computers and find the printers OU. Right click on it and make a new group. Name the group the same as your printer and open it. Here you can give it a description, then apply and OK. Now we gotta go to Group Policy Management. Find the group policy objects, right click and select New. Name it Printer and locate the new policy. Right click and edit. Navigate through User Configuration, Preferences, Control Panel Settings and Printers. Right click, New, Shared Printer. Leave the action on Update and click the 3 dots next to Share Path. Here select the printer from the directory and hit OK. Go to Common, check the item level targeting and click on Targeting. Then New Item and find Security Group. Click the 3 dots next to Group and write the printer's name. Check it and hit OK. Then OK, Apply and OK. Back to Group Policy Management. Drag and drop the printer's policy into the user's OU. Open ActiveDirectory Users and Computers. Locate the printer security group, double click on it, go to Members, and here you can add members individually like I'll do with the IT supporter, or you can add a whole group like the domain users. Once you're done, hit Apply and OK. If everything worked out as it should, we won't be needing to work on this server anymore. Now launch your client computer but keep the server open. The first step is to get the client computer connected to the domain server. Search for network connections and right click on Ethernet. Select Properties and just like we did with the server in the beginning, type the IP address but keep the final number unique. Down in the DNS, make sure your IP matches your server identically. Click OK and just to be sure, you can ping the server from the command prompt. Everything looks fine here, so let's proceed. Open the control panel. Go to System and Security, then System, and click on Domain and Workgroup. Click on Change and type in your domain name. Log in as an admin to confirm and wait for the computer to recognize the domain. Once recognized, restart your computer and attempt to log in as an administrator. When you're in, open Command Prompt and use the gp update/force to make sure all rules and policies have been updated. Press the Windows key and hit R. Search // followed by the server IP, then / and the shared folder name. Here you should be able to see all the users' folders, and as an administrator you can open and edit them all. Search for printers and scanners, and here you should be able to find your new printer. Let's test the policies with a restricted user. The first time they log in, they will need to change the password. We will connect to the shared folder the same way, and as you can see, we have no access to any other folder than our own. The registry has been disabled, but we are able to locate the printer. However, we can't use any other settings in the control panel. That's what I would call a success. Good luck.